you come in and you find out they don't actually know any more than the people who know about your business. And I think the key thing is use people who know about your business and about your goals and about your strategy and teach them the tech, because the tech's much easier nowadays than that bit is.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, that's a lovely way to wrap it up for now. I'm really hoping this has got your juices flowing and you've got some ideas or thoughts or questions that you want to throw in the mix. And our glamorous assistant, John, is there at the back with a microphone. If anybody would like to say something, who's going to be brave and be the first person to put their hand up? Gentleman at the front. What I would like, I know that you're probably familiar to many here, but if you wouldn't mind just saying who you are and using the mic for the question so we can all hear.
Coming?
Yes, it's coming.
Richard Sykes. I here wearing my hat as chairman of the Cloud Industry Forum. Picking up threads to do with the people that have been hinted at. What you've got in a lot of more established companies and older companies is a more senior layer of players, more experienced in the business, who are the baby boomers, people in their late 40s, 50s, early 60s, working closely with the millennial generation who are computer literate, social media literate, move fast, move change, are used to that culture, have their own separate language full of words like awesome and things like that. How do you work a process that brings those two very different cultural backgrounds together into a common purpose? Because I'm of the baby boomer generation, and I can tell you I find it a fascinating area to try and get proper integration with the millennials.
There's an awesome question there, Richard. So who wants to try and tackle that?
So I'll do a very brief one. I think it's brilliant if you have got those two groups working together. Not always do you achieve that. Sometimes the tradition of command and control tends to be the way that this works. The way we've found engagement works the best is to start with relatively small things and demonstrate business results really early on. It's no good. In the same way as large-scale projects used to deliver stuff that people didn't want. If you're trying to be innovative and want to change people's thinking about what is possible, then doing it rapidly and innovatively in small cycles tends to change people's attitude, because people can be very skeptical about new approaches, but when they start to see real benefits to the business being delivered, they get much more bought in. And we've had people standing a way off and being very command and control who have got absolutely engaged and bought into agile cycles completely because of the results that they saw. So show early results would be my big point.
And I'd add to that, I'd sort of say the key for I found is encouraging open-mindedness and encouraging certainly the younger generation to sort of say, well, actually, not all the stuff that we've been doing for years is old-fashioned and a waste of time. There's some good learnings to be had, and equally, the new millennial generation coming in have got some great ideas, and I think you've just got to really encourage. It's back to that environment, the environment where all can work together and actually respect each other and respect the experience, but also respect the new ideas and that sort of thing coming through.
Yeah, I think if you look at the most successful businesses and teams in the world, whether it be sport or business, so New Zealand Rugby Union, British Lions, or Facebook, Amazon, the one critical thing they share is a common goal. So if you didn't have that common goal, regardless of what talent you had, they'll all end up in different directions. So my particular philosophy and style is to make sure we do have that common goal and nurture and guide the teams along the way. And then when you look at how you're compiling your teams, your hiring policies and your recruitment policies, make sure that the composition of your teams is very complementary. I know there's all sorts of management consultant theories on it, but you need to have a really good gut instinct in terms of what your team needs to look like, and then paint that goal. Not tell them how to get there, but create that freedom for them to get to themselves, and you just sort of nudge it in along the way. That's how I do it, and that's how we try to do it at various businesses I've worked at.
One final thought, Richard, is that I think one of the hardest things for that baby boom generation sometimes to grasp is that failure is okay, provided we're doing it rapidly and at low cost. So fast fails are, you know, a buzzword that everybody's using, but it is actually one of the harder things to grasp, because failure's generally been punished, and actually, you know, rapid failure with learning should be encouraged as long as we're moving towards the common goal, as we said.
Okay, fantastic.
One more thing to add. Sorry,
Go for it,
Neil.
Reece. No, it's fine.
What I think we're probably all finding is that a lot of board meetings, a lot of conversations are being had, and decisions are being made by a lot of people who don't really understand it, and that's drip feeding down, and the decision's already been made before they've had the freedom to make the choice or decision themselves. Because quite frankly, the guys who are doing it on the ground and know more about it than the board level. So it's just about opening that up.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody want to follow on from Richard's question? There must be some other good thoughts, good questions coming from there. Mirren. Good.
Good morning, Mirren Reisick, your MC. Just thinking about what we've been discussing, I'd be interested in the panel's view in terms of digital driving the rise of shadow IT, and how the panelists are embracing that, pushing back on it. So how are they exploiting or managing the growth of shadow IT with that digital has driven?
Great stuff. Who's going to take that first?
Yeah. So I once upset a cohort of CIOs at a Gartner event by saying, actually, I think one of the things we need to think about is not necessarily what's going on in shadow IT, but the length of the shadow that the IT department is casting. And I'll kind of repeat that because I think it's really important to take that inward-looking thing first. It says, why are they doing it? Why is it that our business folks feel that they have to go off and do their own IT? Is it because our walls are so impenetrable and so high that they can't actually get us to do anything for them? And just briefly, what we're doing at LV, on the back of the fast track kind of two-speed IT-driven development, we've launched a subsequent program which we call Digitize the Enterprise, where we're actually going out to the business and deliberately encouraging them to drive their own solutions, but not their own, or look at their business problems and give them the technology to drive their own business solutions. So rather than them just go off and select something that they found, you know, on the internet and paid for with a credit card, saying, well, actually, you can do this for yourself, but do it with these tools, do it with this. We've created a solution over here in another area of the business. Would be ideal for you. Why don't you just use that? And in that way, we get a consistent set of components and a consistent framework in which it's done. And I think it's a bit like the Lego bricks that Sue was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, we've very much taken the perspective we need to embrace shadow IT. It's a fact of life. It's going to be there, especially as, you know, the world becomes more digital, technology becomes more pervasive, and so we're looking at how we do that. And for me, it's a lot about establishing some clear guidelines, especially around things like security. That's where I think the biggest risk from business areas doing too much on their own is. And so the approach we've taken, I have business partners within my area who face into all the different areas of the charity and work with them. The idea being that the business partners understand all the Lego bricks we've already got, but they also go and have a foot in understanding what the business is trying to do, helping them through it, and we decide whether we let them drive it with a third party in our guidelines or whether we drive it for them.
I'm just going to briefly add something here. In the early 90s, so I don't know what generation this makes me, in the early 90s I worked at Deloitte Consulting. I was actually in our internal IT, and we did an audit. And we found, I think, in the region of 1,500 access databases that were built by outside IT. So I think since PCs started becoming common, we've had shadow IT, right? Since people started using Lotus 123 macros and so on. It's just the fact that its impact and the risk around shadow IT has become a lot more key.